Okay, so we're on page 24. We started. This is again. We're following the Daled Chelkei Shulchan Aruch. There's a 5-year plan here. I'll show it to you later. You go through all the various parts of the Shulchan Aruch. We're now in Yoreh De'ah, and we're doing Hilchos Avodah Zarah. We started last week with the laws regarding is Islam considered Avodah Zarah?
Does you say it follows the Shulchan Aruch? Wouldn't you say it follows the Rambam's Yerah Chazaka?
No.
It also starts with Avodah Zarah. He also starts with Avodah Zarah and De'ah, right?
I understand, but this is not following
It's following the Shulchan Aruch.
Yeah. Of course, you can see the Rambam
Followed the same general outline.
We're going to be quoting the Rambam in most of these halachos because the Rambam is part of the process by which the Shulchan Aruch was built up. He was one of the major codifiers, along with the Rosh and the Rif. So we haven't started yet. We're on page 24. We just reminded people that we spoke about the status of Islam. It was a machlokes whether it is considered Avodah Zarah or not. Again, it broke down very interestingly. It seemed like the Ashkenazi poskim, like the Bali Tosfos and those that were in Germany and France, they tended to suggest that it was Avodah Zarah, while the Sfardim, like the Rambam, and then even today's poskim, like Rav Ovadia Yosef, they tend to generate that it's not Avodah Zarah, based on the area where they lived in terms of who they dealing with. Let's see if the same thing holds when we talk about Christianity. So the Rambam, of course, who lived in Cordoba in Spain and eventually in Egypt, Rambam in Hilchos Avodah Zarah, a Notzrim, which refers to Christianity, Ovdei Avodah Zarahim. So the Rambam says it very clearly. V'yom Rishon hu Yom Edom. Sunday is their holiday. Lefichach Osir Loses Veloses Yimoim Be'eretz Yisrael Yom Chamishi v'Yom Shishi. Shebechol Shabbos for Shabbos. You can't do business with them Thursday or Friday each week. What's going to be is because they're going to have a good deal, and on Sunday they're going to worship their Avodah Zarah, thanking their Avodah Zarah.
He's counting the Sunday as a Dehem?
It says it very clearly. Vein tzarich lomer Yom Rishon atzmo shehu asur b'chol makom. So it's not just in Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, there's more. But anywhere, you would not be able to do business with them on Sunday. V'chein nohagim imam b'chol eidehem. Then, of course, other holidays, Easter, Kratzma.
If we hear another principle, the Shlosh Shamim L'Fnei Dehem.
Well, that in Masechta Avodah Zarah, that comes up all along.
I know, but to say that's also in front of their quote-unquote Sabbath, that's...
So the Rambam holds clearly that Sunday is their holiday.
Pretty radical.
Then, in Hilchos Machalos Asoros, we see it even more. Ger Toshav, so that's a non-Jew, who accepts the Sheva Mitzvos Bnei Noach. V'hu shekibel Sheva Mitzvos, k'mo shebi'arnu. So the din is, his wine, yeno aser b'shasiya umuter b'aniya. Normally, yayin nesech, which is utilized by somebody who mamish worships Avodah Zarah, not only would be aser to drink, but it would be aser b'ana. But so a ger toshav, their stam yenam, is not aser b'ana. And he's going to make a distinction.
Yeah. Is a Christian a ger toshav?
No. So you're going to see the Rambam is about to make a distinction. Umiyachtin etzlo yayin. So by a ger toshav, you could deposit with him a barrel of wine. Let's say you're going on a trip, and you want him to watch it for a few days. You could deposit him. However, in mafkidin etzlo yayin, you couldn't give him a deposit where it's going to be there for 6 months. V'chein kol akum she'ena oved akum. Any non-Jews, what he's referring to, though, who does not worship Avodah Zarah, kigon elu ha'yishmaelim. So he's comparing a ger toshav to the Yishmaelim. Yenam asr b'shasiya umuter baniya. So again, he paskins clearly that Islam is not Avodah Zarah. Now comes the punchline. And v'chein horu kol ha'gaonim. Aval osam ha'ovdim. Now, that word was censored. The Rambam was heavily censored by the church. And you notice there's Girsa Mekorit should have read Aval HaNotzrim. So again, he's making the distinction. Aval osama ovdim or notzrim akum stam yenam osir bania, because he's poskening that Christianity is avodah zarah mamish. Now, other opinions disagree, and is mainly based on the opinion of Tosfos. So again, let's remember, the Balei Tosfos, many of them were the grandchildren of Rashi. Rashi lived in France. So again, they of course lived among the Christians. So Rabbeinu Tam Omer, this is a Masechta Sanhedrin, Mutter lekabel heimenu hashvua. So Rabbeinu Tam starts off this sugya by talking about, could you demand an oath from a non-Jew? Now, afal pi shemash kirimam shem shamayim v'kavanosam l'davar acher. So when they invoke the name of God, because in an oath they're going to invoke the name of God, they may have in mind something else, meaning, and in Christianity it's idolatry like Jesus or something that is not necessarily Hashem. So Rabbeinu Tam is saying, but it's not Mamish Avodah Zarah, we'll see why. Because whatever you're going to say about a Christian, he's also thinking about God who created the heaven and the earth. So this is the key point. Rabbeinu Tam is going to be matir because he's using the concept of shituf, that if somebody's worshiping and they combine it with God but something else, and that's what their shita is, right? Because it's the Father, the Son, the whole thing. So number one, he started off by talking about an oath. So it's not a problem to have him take an oath with shituf. That's what number one psak that Rabbeinu Tam is saying. And v'lifnei iver leka dibnei Noach lo huzru al kach. So there is a concept. For example, if you have a non-Jew who's required to follow the Sheva Mitzvahs bnei Noach, don't kill, don't commit adultery, don't eat Aver Menachai, you're not allowed to give a non-Jew Aver Menachai to eat, because that's Lifnei Iver, for him. But this is something that he's not commanded to. So Rabbeinu Tam is on 2 points. Number one, it's not about a Zohar for them. Number two, by asking them to take an oath, it's not Lifnei Iver.
Asking that would be Lifnei Iver.
So the Shulchan Aruch says, V'yizayir milishitate v'makusim, shema yischayev lo shvua, v'oiver mishum lo yishmal picha. So the Mechaber is following the Rambam, that Bichlal, you cannot have them take an oath, it's avodah zarah. He seems like to be holding like the Rambam. But the Ramah, yesh makilim, be'asiyah shutfes v'makusim bizman hazeh. So for example, if you're going to go into partnership with a Gentile today, right? So they don't take oaths to their God. They might mention it. The Ramah seems to remember. The Ramah lived in Krakow in the year 1600. Krakow is a very Catholic city. Poland is extremely Catholic. So the Ramah certainly understood what was going on there.
So when it's in court and they have a Bible,
Well, we're not allowed to swear. So when you go to court, we say affirm.
You affirm.
We just to avoid
They
swearing.
used to swear. 20, 30 years ago, we always swear. You always
say I
swear.
affirm.
That's the affirm.
You say I affirm because to get around, you're not supposed to swear in the name of
Are you
God.
able to, let's assume you have to use the word swear. I swear, okay? Is a Jew allowed to swear?
Let's
Again.
let's deal with it when it comes up in the Shulchan Aruch. Let's deal with it when it comes up because that's not here. We're dealing with what we're dealing with here is when you were in business with a Gentile,
Right.
you might have to bring them to court and you might have to make them take an oath. That's what the Rishonim are dealing with here, and we're dealing with can we do that? Because when they take an oath, there might be to avodah zarah, and maybe there's a lifnei iver, and we shouldn't be doing that. So we're not talking about us taking the oath. We're talking about the Gentile taking the oath. So the Ramah seems to be saying that even though they might mention the name of God, mikol mokom kavanosim lo shemayim va'aretz, ela shemishatvim shem shemayim v'davar acher. They're doing this shituf. It's Hashem with somebody else. V'lo matzinu sheyesh b'zeh mishum v'lifnei iver lo siten nechshol. So the Ramah is following exactly like the Balei Tosfos. The way Eina Muzar Mal Shituf, because one of the Sheva Mitzvahs from Noach is Avodah Zarah, but they're poskening that Shituf does not qualify as being violated by a Ben Noach if they worship this type of worship. Okay,
Again, Shituf, what's the exact translation of Shituf?
partnership. That-
Between?
like Trinity, like
So
Trinity.
it's the three
So-
parts,
so-
God and
right.
the Son.
Yeah, exactly. So I ordered a volume for you, and they promised me up and down that it would get here today, but it didn't get here yet. So we'll have it for you the next thing. So if you could,
They affirmed.
okay. So, what is the later dope? What do our later dope poskim hold? So, for example, Rav Ovadia Yosef, again following in this general theme that we've seen in the Sephardi world, holds that Christianity is mamish avodah zarah. Ulam, but he quotes the Noida Yehuda, who was an Ashkenazi. Rav Yechezkel landed in Prague, was about 1780. So he quotes the Noida Yehuda, Kosav Umay Demerag Lebu Pumayu. The fact that people have pearls in their mouth all the time, which means it's a statement that means people always think they know. The She'ein B'nei Noach Mitzuvim Al Hashituv Ta'usu B'yodam. So the Noda Yehuda is arguing with the sheet of Rabbeinu Tam, which the Ramah quoted, that they felt Shituf was not a Avodah Zarah, but the Noda Yehuda says absolutely not. V'yetzelam davar zeh mimasha kosav haRamah, uve'emes she'en hakovona came, ela loymar kishagoy nishba Avodah Zarah im Shituf shem shamayim, ve'enu omer eliata. So the Noda Yehuda is going into the Ramah more deeply. He's quoting the Ramah specifically that unless the goy said, "He is my God," Eliata, that's when the Ramah says it's not a problem. Eina muzral kach, ayin sham. Ulefi zeh, lefi ma shenoyagim had noitzrim beknisiya, shetoifsim shem derech elokus bekida vishtachavo. The Christians today, they bow down and they do acts. Bevadei sheyesh lehem din of the avodah zarah, uchdivrei Rambam v'aposkim shekosfu. I just want to read something here.
But you said Christians. It's not Christians. It's only capitalists.
Hang on, Bernie. You're right on top of it. We're going to see that in a minute.
Because they're the ones that do
The Trinity.
Now, according to this, let's just go back a little bit. I'm reading the footnote on the bottom of 24. It seems it is forbidden to do business with Christians on these days. Remember, the Rambam said, if you do business with them on Sunday or on their holidays or even a couple days before, they're going to go to their place and worship and thank God, and you're stimulating them. So the Rambam said you can't do business with them. So even though it sounds like that should be the din, the common practice for hundreds of years have been to permit commerce with them. The Rishonim have suggested various opinions for this. That means the heter, such as Gentiles are no longer entirely committed to their faith as idol worshippers once were. That's a Tosas Avodah Zarah, or due to concerns
That's
of
in those days, or when was that?
yeah. That means the Christians today are not as aduk in their Avodah Zarah as they were 800 years ago.
Worry about the two Yidel there who did business on Thursday and Friday would go to Shul on Shabbos and thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
A Jew's allowed to thank a Kodesh Baruch Hu.
That's what I'm
But that's
saying.
not Avodah Zarah.
No, I'm saying when you don't allow the Jew to do business on Thursday and Friday, so he's not going to give Shevach V'Hodah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Shabbos.
Okay,
No.
but we're not talking
You're
about.
telling the Jew not
But there's
to
no
do
Averis
business
going
with the
on.
guy
I
for
understand,
3
but
days
I'm
plus
just saying,
Shabbos.
I'm
So you're
saying
not
you
leaving him
can
any
just-
kind of
I hear.
Business with you on
God wants to
Sunday.
make Shabbos,
You should
he
not
can
so
do
firm
it.
after all.
So number one,
Huh?
one shita
Open
is
Sunday. If
they're
they're
not
not-
aduk in their Avodah Zarah.
Yeah, 'cause they're
Aduk
not-
means
they're-
they're not, and we know it today.
They work
First
on
of all,
Sunday.
They're not
how many?
from.
First of
From any-
exactly.
They're not.
Number two,
But this is from Tosfos time.
due to Ava. So, for example, Me'ikar Adin, a Orthodox physician, if he gets a call on Shabbos, of course, you can violate Shabbos, Me'ikar Adin, Pikuach Nefesh, but that's for a fellow traveler. Me'ikar Adin, you're not allowed to violate Shabbos. The only reason we violate Shabbos Bisman Hazeh is because of this concept of Ava, hatred, or even worse, riots could develop, danger for the community. If word gets out that the physician
treat you.
didn't practice, or they won't treat you, or something like that. So that's the second svara. So if we don't do business with them, there'll be Ava.
It'll be like the measles reports now.
Or it would be impossible to refrain from such a practice, and sages were therefore more lenient in their decree. That's what the Ramban says in Avodah Zarah. Commerce nowadays is so common that no Christian would go and thank his gods for any profit obtained, which was the original reason given for this degree. That's what the Meiri says. So we have a number of svaras as to why this concept, why we continue to do business with them,
So even if you hold someone as already, you can still.
based on these issues. Now, even though Rav Ovadia Yosef said clearly, we just read it, that it's Avodah Zarah, I'm going to read the note below. He's referring specifically to Catholicism, which does include prostration in this manner as part of their service. However, many other sects of Christianity do not include this as part of their worship, such as Protestants, Seventh-day Adventists, etc. According to this logic, it is possible that the method of worship of such sects may not be considered Avodah Zarah, though their conception of God may still qualify as an Avodah Zarah belief. What they're saying is here, if it has to do with actually doing a Maisa, and it has nothing to do with thought only, so if thought only, that may not qualify for Zarah. We're going to see there's a debate whether you need thought and service, or is thought enough. So, and we can, if we have some time, we can be ma'ayin in that issue a little bit more. But I'd like to complete the basic corpus, and then if we have some time, we'll do the extra. So, what about the prohibition of entering a church? So again, we're going to quote the Yechavid Das, which is Ovadia Yosef. She'ela, ha'imutul Yehudi levaker b'knesiya shel notzrim. Can you visit? Tshuva. Masech Avodah Zarah mevuar sheyesh iser afilu liskarev lepesach habayis shel Avodah Zarah. Can't even go into the door. Can't even get close to it. Shenemer al tikrav el pesach beisav. Chen kosva tois v'sham. V'nei mavur b'Rambam perik yud alf meilchos machol asasuro shanotzrim of the Avodah Zarah. He quotes the Rambam that we learned beferish. Umemela din knesses yasam, their church is kaves Avodah Zarah manish. V'lachein borer meod she'asur levaker b'knesa hanotzrim. Now we're going to see other opinions as well. So he says in summary, Hadavar borer she'asur behechel levaker b'knesa shel notzrim. Val madrichei tayarot, the tour guides, Lishamer ulizar meod leval yikashlu v'lo yachshilu Yehudim hamavakrim b'Yisrael ovilam al knesiyas notzrim. So we know, many Jews come to visit Eretz Yisrael and they're taken by tour guides to, Nazareth or Bethlehem or, Okay. The consensus of poskim is that it's forbidden to enter a church in most situations. However, most poskim forbid entering a church that is currently used only as a tourist or historical site, as it still retains the status of idol worship. I would like everyone to turn to page 41. Yeah, turn to page 47. So actually 46. Are there extenuating circumstances where one might be able to be lenient? This is about going to visit a church. The poskim have stated, as we've said, that it's prohibited. Nevertheless, some poskim are lenient in certain extenuating circumstances. There are times when communal leaders, if you remember Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, when it was in the
Westminster,
right,
Westminster Abbey.
at Westminster Abbey, was it at Princess Diana's funeral?
No,
Or,
he was on the side of the
No,
road.
they had for Obama for the.
Sheva Brachas?
He did not go.
Okay.
He was on the side
but there
of
was,
the road.
maybe at that one, but there was a time, and then there was this debate.
I
This,
never saw.
Now, there was an issue with the Lookstein.
Okay. So there are times when communal leaders are
The
invited to
national-
important state ceremonies that take place in churches, and refusing to go could cause great resentment and enmity towards the Jewish community. Based on what we have seen above, if one holds that there is a Torah violation of receiving benefit, these circumstances would not permit entering a church, as we are generally not lenient on a Torah obligation due to Eva. However, many poskim are lenient in these scenarios based on the assumption that it's only a rabbinic prohibition. It means to have some hana. This leniency has two very important limitations. First, one needs to clarify that there is a real concern
What's
for
the Ava again? What is
Ava
it?
means the concern that there might be a riot, that they're going to hate the community, that it's going to lead to safety issues for the community. Second, Rav Asher Weiss points out that even if a communal leader rabbi needs to enter, he is definitely prohibited to pray there or say Tehillim, as it is forbidden to pray in a house of idolatry. Moreover, it should be noted Rav Ovadia Yosef ruled against this leniency outright, despite taking the position that the prohibition of having Hana is only rabbinic in nature. What about using the parking lot of a church as a shortcut? Rav Moshe finds in Nigros Moshe permitted using the parking lot of a church as a shortcut as long as one does not enter the actual church. Yet he forbade children playing in a room adjacent to the main precinct and owned by the church, even though there were no idols or artifacts of worship. Now, Rav Moshe Sternbach was lenient with regard. Rav Moshe Sternbach today is the Rav of the Eida Charedis, the Moadim Uzmanim. I met Rav Sternbach a number of times in Yerushalayim. Rav Moshe Sternbach was lenient with regard to voting in a room connected to a church. Very common in North America, where churches are often used as voting stations, where there was a separate entrance and the room was used for other purposes, such as seminars. He points out that since one of the main reasons for the prohibition is Maras Ayin, since everyone knows that one is going there to vote, it would be permitted. Now, what?
Built on church land, as a lot of Yerushalayim is, that's not an issue, it's not.
Because that's been destroyed. So they're mevatel the avodah zarah. So the land is not.
Destroyed, it was just land that they own, the church owns it, and they get their out from it, I mean, they get income from it and so on.
Okay, so that we'll have to go through this iyun, because the issue of benefiting from it, receiving benefit from avodah zarah, we have to go back and deal with that. But I would say that if the church had been destroyed, the avodah zarah has been mevatel. So there is a posting, Rav Chaim David HaLevi holds that a church that no longer functions as such is permitted to enter even for tourism, and that is quoted also in the Barei Bazak. So there are people to rely on if you want it to be lenient.
Even for tourism, I mean that's the least problem. The problem is like the school, that opened up on 3rd Street. That how are they allowed to go in? According to Rav Chaim David HaLevi, he said you can't use that thing for a school.
You're talking about Daniel Murphy? Was a school?
Church.
Well, the separate building was a church.
Do they use that building?
They're using all the buildings.
We davened there.
Maybe there was bittul. Means once avodah zarah is mevatel, so it's not avodah zarah anymore.
Right.
Only they have the
They
rights.
And they
deconsecrated it.
probably
It's not
worked
just
that
a
out.
church that's no longer being used, it's not a church anymore.
Yeah, it has to be. They have to be, Jerry. There's a process of being mevatel the avodah zarah.
Well, who does
The
it?
goy
They do.
has to do it.
They do the voodoo.
They have to be mevatel.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Would they-
Okay. The non-Jew.
Catholics.
The non-Jew.
What was I going to ask? Sistine Chapel. Do they use is there ongoing prayer in the Sistine Chapel?
Sure.
There is prayer there.
There is?
So that would be a problem
We all went
based on the
there,
way we're
so-
learning.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
We all
Okay.
went.
Now, in addition, we're back on
I
27.
didn't
In
know.
addition to the prohibition of entering a house of idol
Right,
worship,
that's why you didn't go
the
in.
Rambam writes that one must distance
Exactly.
oneself as much as possible
Way back to 20.
from a house of idol worship. So let's quote the
27.
Rambam. This is in the Perush HaMishnayos in Masechta Avodah Zarah. Let's remember that was written in Arabic. There is a copy of it in the Jewish Theological Seminary, and a manuscript of the Perush HaMishnayos, the Rambam written in Arabic. It was brought out to me. I wasn't allowed to touch it. But they'll
You
turn
have
the
to be
pages for
conservative.
you. And that, of course, has been translated into Hebrew. The Yad HaChazaka was written completely in Hebrew. It was never written in Arabic. But the Perush HaMishnayos was.
And Mar Nevuchim was also in there.
And it was written and transferred by Ibn Tibon into Hebrew. Now, Ulefichach, says the Rambam, Yesh Ladas, Shekol Ir Me'arei Ha'uma Anoitzris, Shel Yesh Lehem Bam Bama. So any city that has an altar in it, Ritzoni Lomer, based Filosom Asher, who based Avodah Zarah below Sofeg, Harezu Ha'ir Ein Mutter La'avar Ba B'Kavana. You can't even travel through it. The Kol Shekain Lo Durba. Hang on. Hang on.
My wife loves this place.
Aval Hashem Masarnu B'Yidem Ad Shenodu Bareim Bal Korchenu. The Rambam recognizes that we've been schlepped to these cities and we have to live here. L'kayim Yehudo Harav Avadetem Sham Elokim Masei Yedei Adam Eitz V'Evan. This is part of our klala that we have to, witness all of this. That they worship Eitz V'Evan. V'imzeu din ha'ir kal v'chomer l'din beis avodah zarah atzmo. So the Rambam is just bringing that if we're supposed to stay away from the city, how much more are we supposed to stay away from the church itself?
This city itself is a Catholic city.
Kal v'chomer l'din beis avodah zarah atzmo. Shekimat osur lahabid bo. Can't even look at it. Kol sheken l'karvila. The kol sheken l'kanes.
When the Rambam lived, there was no more Avodah Zarah. Right, Avodah Zarah was mevatel by then already.
No, what do you
He said
mean?
the Catholic Church. Right.
No, it's not the
No,
Catholic.
you're talking about Chazal when they came to Mimavatel the
didn't know
Koich Vazar.
Buddhism.
That was when they came back from Bavel.
Thailand, they didn't
That was
have-
500 BC.
Thailand, they
Exactly.
still have it. Thailand, they still have it.
Terrible, yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Thailand
yeah.
is still available.
What Walter's referring to is that after the Golus, we came back after 70 years, the Gemara relates that they abolished, they weakened the koach of Avodah Zarah. Then they tried to weaken the koach of sexual desire, but then the chickens didn't lay eggs. So they had to get rid of that. So what is that? What do I learn from that piece of Gemara? So first of all, we look at a totem pole today. You know, let's say the Eskimos build a totem pole. We look, it's a totem pole. It means we have no cheshik. Now, you look at other things, men who look, or vice versa, we understand the draw of sexuality, what that concept is in terms of being drawn to it. So what we have to learn is that in the time of Menashe, Melech Menashe, how much that koach, we don't really understand it, because Chazal were movatel that koach that Walter brought up. So we don't really, but then what we have to do is we have to think about what sexual desire is and somehow connect that to Avodah Zarah. That was what the desire towards Avodah Zarah was. We don't understand it because of this issue that Chazal somehow weakened its effect. But the effect is there. Now here comes let's just finish.
Just on the Rambam. In the Rambam's Parish and Mishnah talking about a Catholic city. How does one live in a city called Christchurch?
Exactly.
How about Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Corpus Christi.
Or Simcha Monica.
There's a shul there. I daven mincha in front of that shul.
Wow.
We're closed.
Well, but you see, the Rambam clearly says this is part of our golus. That he understands that we have been sent to various places.
Right in front of the shul.
No, but even in Israel you have churches.
Here's a very interesting.
What
Here's
happens when you go to the big shal is when you go to these airports, and in the same airport, in the same room,
Yes.
the same
Yeah,
room,
yeah.
they got a Catholic.
Yeah, but they don't have the symbols usually.
Yeah, they turn it around. Yeah, they'll have
So
a
hang
cross.
on.
No?
Let's wait.
Cedars have a shul.
Let's wait.
Yeah.
Walter brought up the concept of a symbol. We're going to learn that today if we get there. So let's read the Nefesh Harav, which was written by Rav Hershel Schachter. We know the Rosh Yeshiva in YU, who was a Talmud of Rav Yoshe Ber Soloveitchik. Kishenirtzach Hanasi Kennedy in 1963. Some of us. I don't know how old Chaim is, but maybe Chaim was a young boy at the time. I was in second grade at Hillel. I was at home that day, but Hillel, everybody was brought
Everybody
into
knows where they were that day.
brought into the base medrash for
What's
Tillin.
the
So Kishenirtzach Hanasi Kennedy, Archu al V'yosu b'Knisya Katolit. So his funeral was organized in a Catholic church. V'harbe Yehudim b'Amerika histaklu b'televizya. Many Jews in America watched that. B'chtei liros es onaseh. V'hitraem al kach Rabbeinu ma'od. Rav Yosef Ber Soloveitchik was very upset by that. V'omar sheyot shelefi chukei hadat hakatolit, according to the rules of the Catholic Church, mikubal etzlem, that they understand, she'af mi shemishtatev b'techasei hapalchin shlem, people who participate in their service, derech histaklus b'televizya, gam ken yotzei diat chavoso, that they somehow fulfilled their obligation. What, based on watching? Just watching it. They watched the service. The guy walked around with this, whatever he was.
They can't tell you what to do. They can't tell you if you go into church.
Uvevadai Isser Gomer Hayabazeh. Umali nichnas hu al tocha knisiyah de'aser.
He can't determine what the rules for me.
We hold by halacha that it's not. But you can't hear shofar over the telephone.
Umali nichnas hu al tocha knisiyah de'aser. O machnis es a knisiyah el toch beiso. That means if you can't walk into the church, you shouldn't bring it into your house.
So the same thing, the wedding. So in theory, you couldn't watch that wedding, the royal wedding either.
Well, if there's a service that goes on as part of it,
The royal
you
wedding.
see there would be a
You couldn't
problem
watch
with
it
that.
then. It wasn't a church.
Ernie, you know, when you
I wasn't
really,
invited.
really have Avodah Zarah, when you
On
walk
TV.
into the church,
You were invited to watch it on
all
TV.
the gold and these beautiful statues. It's really inspiring. I
And
mean, it's amazing.
and they bow down to
Get
it.
it.
What?
And they bow down to it.
Read number 5. Read number 5. In line with what happened yesterday.
It would seem that it is also prohibited to look at pictures taken from inside a church for purposes of enjoyment,
Notre Dame,
as this may violate the prohibition of deriving benefit from looking at an idolatrous object, which we will discuss.
So Yoshua was the most machmer when it came to Avodah Zarah.
No, this was Rav Yoshe Ber that we just read.
That's what I'm saying. Rav Yoshe Ber was most smart.
Okay. Now, the poskim also discuss: do you recite a bracha upon seeing a structure? What do we mean? Because it says in Shulchan Aruch, Haroya Markulis or Shar Akum. So Markulis was Mercury. It was the Akum of the traveler, and they would put a stone and another stone and then a third stone on top of it. And as you walked by the road and you would see that, you would throw another stone at it. And so you'd see a pile of stones gathered. That's what the Moran Avodah Zarah tells us what Markulis was. So it was like the protective akum for travelers. So Aroya Markulis or Shar Akum Omer, just make a bracha. Bracha to Hashem shenasan erech apayim laovrei ritzono. Now the Imroe Oseh Besoch Lamed Yom Ein Chozeh Mevarech. So there was a bracha.
Who's making this bracha?
Shulchan Aruch, a Jew says that a bracha. That Hashem is holding back His anger to people who worship Avodah Zarah. The bracha. Did we ever know there was such a bracha?
No.
Well, that's
So
what.
again,
That's why we're here tonight to
Avodah
learn
Zarah
this,
is
but that there is
also
such a bracha. Huh?
It's for Goyim, you're assuming that.
Avodah Zarah is also to God. It's one of the Sheva Mitzvahs Bnei Noach.
Okay.
We
So-
said, but
so we're just
Shituf
thinking
no.
of-
But Shituf no.
Okay.
That's what Rebbeinu Tam learned. That Shituf is not. Now, what does the Ramah say? Remember, Ramah lived in Krakow. Va'idna ein mevarchim zos habracha. Sharei anu megudolim beineim v'roim osam tamid. It's not unusual for us. It means there was a time that when you traveled, once in a blue moon, you would come across one of these avodah zaras. But the Ramah is saying that since a church we're surrounded by it, it's not unusual, and therefore we don't make the bracha.
People live in Israel. You live in Israel, you can never not see a church for years.
Not in Jerusalem.
You see
Didn't
many
say it's not Avodah
churches
Zarah, the church is not Avodah Zarah according to the
in Yerushalayim for sure.
Correct.
Well, the Russians have churches too now, right? You got
No. So that the Shulchan Aruch, so the Mechaber said that, who holds like the Rambam that it is a
says nowadays we see this we see them all the time. See what all the time?
the churches.
But he doesn't. He's making it sound as though it is Avodah Zarah, but since it's around all the time, we don't make this bracha so much because it would be making the bracha every
all the
day.
time.
Yeah.
But he also is not Avodah Zarah.
He holds it's not Avodah Zarah mamish.
Yeah.
It's shituf. That's the
Right.
remember that's how the Ramah
I
passes.
guess, so
We're
the bracha to say you're
makilin.
holding
No, so
back
he was
of
makel.
anger.
He was makel to have. Yes, no. So the bracha is only made because we see that the concept of the bracha was that it was an unusual thing that you ran into something that you make a bracha. But the Ramah would also hold that you make a bracha if you ran into some kind of an unusual event. But because in Krakow, those of you who've been to Krakow, there's churches on every block.
Right.
So you don't make the bracha because of that. Not that because it's not Avodah Zarah.
But the Ramah says it's
He held that you could not. He says there was not. He was makel in going into partnership with a Gentile because making them an oath. So we haven't learned. We don't. It didn't say particularly that Ramah held that a church was not a base of Avodah Zarah. What does the Mishnah Berurah say? Shari anu roim osam tamid. The kosva achronim da filo holik li'ir acheres. The rosham Avodah Zarah enam avarch. Kiven the roas min zeh toch lamed. Because he saw a type of something like that in his own city. The after the filo cotton shehig deal. So he's talking about, let's say it's a child who grew up all his life, but he wasn't mechuyev, and now he's a bar mitzvah. Ein tzarich levarch. Kiven shirosa bekatnuso. Okay. Uve Eliyahu Rabba Kosa od milsa chadati. He says something else sharp. Now, filu hu lora osa toch lamed, even if he didn't see it within 30 days, kiven sheyesh rova olam shu shochin b'neim. Somewhere in the world, it's there. So that's how we get away from the bracha business. So there's no bracha.
Is because
That's why we never
feel
heard this
that
bracha.
Hashem held back his anger against this blatant display of Avodah Zarah. So why?
No, not to the people who are over Ritzonah.
Right. So why would it be less of bracha if it's the whole city has Avodah Zarah every place? Wouldn't it be a bigger bracha to say that Hashem held his anger?
But it sounds like one of these things that it's got to be an unusual event, because that's why Lamed Yom, right? It's like you're supposed to say Baruch Machayim Mesim when you haven't seen somebody after 30. It falls into that category. Okay. What about coins that have a cross on it, or a stamp collectors that have some kind of symbol of Avodah Zarah?
Watch that is.
Okay, so the Shulchan Aruch says, "Kolat slamim shel avodas kachavim hanimtsoim bekfarim asurim." If you find images of Avodah Zarah in a small village, So we presume that they were made for idol worship, and they're also. The Stam L'Shem Avodas Kochavim Nasu. However, in a big city, V'Ritzon B'Krochim Mutarim, Devadi L'Noi Nasu, they were made for beautifying the city. Ele Imkein Oindim Al Pesach HaMedina. Except, for example, let's say it's in the entranceway of the city, right? Most cities, like if you've been to Prague, you cross that bridge, and there's, or many cities have like a gateway in.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was there, that would be a problem. V'hai biyad atzura, for example, if the statue had a tzuras makeh, like a staff or a bird, like that the Romans did that, or kodur, or like the globe, or a sword, or a teres v'tabas, or a crown, or a ring. So these were simanim of Avodah Zarah that they would put on their statues. So if it has that,
a king, or this would be like a saint or something.
yeah, any kind of statue.
So it's the same like even going into Vatican
No, but remember,
City without
Greece
going
and
into the
Rome
church, 'cause that's
practiced
the
Avodah Zarah as
symbol
well.
of the
So they had
So
they had a statue with Augustus. They made a statue. They were worshipped as gods. So that's still Avodah Zarah.
around the square.
That's basically when he's talking about if you look at the Romans, they would hold an eagle, or they had a globe, like I'm conquering the world. That's what the saints don't do. The saints are just a picture of the saints. The problem with the saints is they bow down to it, so they worship it. Okay.
New Orleans Saints.
Ernie, it's very interesting. We have a lot of posters
Serious.
on Muslim and Christian faiths.
Yes.
That the world we live in, we're
Like
exposed to
Buddhism.
anyone who goes to China or goes to anywhere in the Orient, it's rampant everywhere you go.
Well, there's no shaila that it's Avodah Zarah because they bow down to it.
I don't really know. We don't really know because even in Los Angeles, you can walk into a store in Koreatown and they've got little fruit, in front of a Buddha, and But
Why do you think that's not Avodah Zarah?
Are they doing it because of Avodah Zarah? Or are they doing it because it's a good luck thing? What?
Oh, okay. Well, we're not poskening on. Yeah, is it kavanah l'shem shemayim or
No,
what?
the point is that we have many poskim that know a lot about Islam and Christianity, but you only see many poskim that know a lot about Confucianism and all the other different.
Well, our Rishonim lived in the time where Islam was dominant in
They
Spain,
weren't living in China.
and they also lived during the time when Christianity was dominant. So.
Yeah, they must have a lot of experience.
But let's just see what the Ramah says.
Yaakov Hillel.
Let's see what the Ramah says. Surah shebishtachvim lahem. So number one, he says anything that people bow down to him, dinam kedinat selam v'asurim b'lo bitul. So unless the non-Jew has been mevatel that statue, there's clearly usur to benefit from. Aval osan shetolim b'tzavar l'zikaron. People wear a cross on their neck for remembrance. Lo mikret selam umuter. So that's not because they don't worship it. They wear it for remembrance.
But sometimes
Now-
they kiss it.
They hold it, they kiss it.
Hang
I've
on.
seen it.
Ernie, sometimes they
Yeah.
Hang on.
Or they take the beads.
Yeah.
Hang on.
The beads are
The
The
beads.
shach.
are
Right.
Muslim.
So if you look at the Shulchan Aruch, you have the Mechaber, the Ramah. In Yoredeya, the two main super commentaries are the Shach and the Taz, and we paskin like them, mainly the Shach. That means sometimes in issues of kashrus and Isser V'Heter, the Ramah will say something that seems to be lenient, and the Shach will say, but we are not knowing like that, or we're knowing like the more stringent opinion. So let's see what the Shach said. The Shach says,
Again, shock is what?
the Shach lived in about 1650. Was one of the commentaries on the Shulchan Aruch, one of the main ones that we follow in halacha. So holds that the use of items is permitted only where it is known that they were not used for worship. He therefore concludes that a cross is always prohibited, as it is generally used for worship. So he doesn't follow this leniency of the Ramah. Let's see the Shach on the side. Aval osan shetolim b'tzavar, right? He quotes the Ramah, and then he comments. Hainu b'yadu shlo yishtachvelu, because the Ramah said he didn't bow to it. But halav hachi, he doesn't say it's not absolutely so. Lo gorami im matzah kelim shaleim tzuras avodas kochavim. Sometimes we find other vessels that there are symbols there. Da kelim asurim im he mechubadim, if they're very nice. The kivan shederach lavodasa hatzura chayshinan shamanavdu hakelim. We're concerned that they were worshipped. The kach kosav Rabbeinu Yerucham, who was a rishon. The after the adik kochavim elu she'en adukim avodas kochavim means maybe our Gentiles today that are not that devoted to their Avodah Zarah, kol masha osim b'tzur salolu b'kelim enam oisim elanoi umutarim. So he wanted to suggest maybe when they make something, it's for beauty only. We turn banoah, kulam, but v'asr lashoisam mishum chshad. The problem is, we're suspicious. We don't know. Maybe it was used, maybe it wasn't used. Imhem boltin, v'roy la'achmir, the suffix Yisr Torah. So since it's a suffix, maybe they were used, maybe they were not. We know suffix d'oraisa l'chumra is the general rule by Isser v'heter. By the way, yesterday in Daf Yomi, what did we learn? By Mominus, suffix d'oraisa were makel. Because amoitza v'chavera lavaraya. That means if you want to schlep, the case was you want to schlep truma from somebody, you want to, if he's a kohen, or you want to get the matonis from him, it's a suffix whether he's chayiv or not. So it's the burdens of proof on the kohen. He's the one who wants to schlep money from somebody. So he has to bring the proof, so he doesn't have to pay. So there we see by Momnus cases, even a suffix deraisa were lenient, but suffix deraisa by Isser v'heter, kashrus, dine avodah zara, dine erva, anything that where there's a prohibition involved. So then we always say suffix drabanan l'kula.
Use a rove. If let's say 80% of the objects are just sold for trinkets or whatever, just for souvenirs and whatnot, and 20%.
Not by us, not by Sfeke Isur Deraisa, you can't use rov.
Okay.
Unless it's a special din.
A practical
Besavik
case.
Isur Deral Korcha, ve'efsher b'tzura atzmo, kivin sheder shemishtachvim lo l'chule ama aser. So the Shach ends up very machmir on the concept that the Ramos seem to be lenient about.
The question is,
But Rav Avadia Yosef disagrees with the Shach. Let's just finish the thing.
Fine.
Go ahead, Bernie. What did
No,
you
go
say?
ahead,
No,
finish.
what did you want?
no, I just a practical question. You have a Jewish jeweler. Can he sell Christian jewelry to,
Right.
or is it lifnei iver, or is this? Do you,
Well, if it's just Linoy, if it's just for beauty, he can sell it. If it was worshipped, you can't sell it.
If he has a relationship.
So Lamaisa,
that
Lamaisa today it's made for
You
beauty.
can sell it.
The one that wears the cross.
Yeah,
that
it was
has a
because it's not
relationship.
worshipped.
We don't know that.
we don't know that.
Well, if you
It wasn't worship of
If you-
past tense. was
yeah,
not
so that's what I'm
worship.
saying. Your manufacturer makes something and it's not worshipped, and it's Linoy. It's for
It's
decoration.
created for beauty. What he does with it later on is his own.
And by the way, let's see Rav Avadia Yosef.
But if you
That's
carry a
the
cross on it,
thing.
real quick, if you carry a cross on it, you're not worshiping, you're actually have a communication with that.
If you worship it by kissing it, then it would be avodah zarah. You would not. Then
Because
you would not be. You would not be able to have a no
no
from it.
Not.
Yeah.
You as the Jew could not sell that. Or could that would
So
be
how
considered?
does you sell it
So
then?
people kiss
No,
them as
because
though-
Because he,
Before he
it was
sold
not
it,
previously-
before he
it was not previously
Jerry,
worshipped.
before he sold it, it wasn't worshipped.
Yeah.
So it's not prohibited.
And he can't be us.
So
He's not. He doesn't know what it's going to be
If the
used for.
person's gonna
If he-
wear it, then
if
it's
he
gonna be
takes your
prohibited. So then all of a sudden the person
he's
sells
shirking
it
it.
back to the
And is it
jeweler.
Now,
lifnei
there would be a
iver?
lift.
Is it lifnei iver?
So if you hold that it's shituf, then it's not mamash avodah zarah, even if it was sold for a cross that was going to be worshipped. So there might, because again, it's not mamash avodah zarah. Those things are mutter banda.
But if you had something, you owned it, and a guy comes and wants to try it out, he takes the cross and he kisses it, he can't be us or your thing unless he owns it. Right.
So fine. So you have to give it to him. So
for him.
yeah, but if he bought it,
If he bought it, that's the very thing, yeah, but
so let's just see. We're not finishing with the shach. What does Rav Avadia Yosef hold?
If they ask you to come and make one for one of the
Right. So then we talk. Then we have to say. Okay. So Rav Avadia Yosef disagrees with the ruling of the Shach regarding crosses. She'ela. Adam nichbad shekibel ma'malchus madalias zahav b'tzuras tzlav. A great person received a medal of honor, but it was in the shape of a cross. La'os kavod. Hayim muter lo la'anodota.
Yeah, in battle.
Can he wear it?
Iron cross.
Oh, la shosa beveso. Let us know. Can even have it in his house. Tshuva. Ulam gam l'das hashach. So if we read the Ovadia Yosef now, we would know which shach he's referring to. This is the shach regarding Avodah Zarah, because this shach, as we go through these sukkahs, we're gonna see there. We've already had the opinion of the Rav Yah, right, by Moror, or the opinion. These are the shitas. So this opinion of the shach is well known. Who assered even crosses. Ulam gam l'das hashach yesh lomar shebemedalya zahav b'tzuras tzlav, that a gold medal that was made in the shape of a cross. Shadavar golav yadua shenasis ach v'rak la'od kavos ba'alma. Everybody knows it was made only for honoring this person. The ain't there klal ishtachavosla. There's no concept of bowing to it. Yesh lahatir b'pshitus. He matirs. V'zeu tama heter sha'anu mishtabshim b'matbeos sheyesh aleim shesi v'erev. Somebody who's dealing in coins, a coin collector and a seller, and it has crosses on it. Can you benefit from it? It's not been worshipped. Lefi shadover borer she'enam nevadim. These are not things that are worshipped. V'afu pi she'en kelim mechubadim mutar. Even though they're very special and they're very valuable, etc. Ravad Yosef paskins that it's permitted. V'yadua umufursam ma'aser Rav bezeh she'agon arishon l'tzin Rabbi Yaakov Meir Zatzal. The chief rabbi, the Sephardi chief rabbi previously, Rav Yaakov Meir, Kibel Medaya Zav B'Tzurat Tzlav, he received such an honor. V'haya anudo al chazeu l'kavod l'tifort, he would wear it with pride. Be'echayim avaker etzel hanatziva elyon, if he was photographed with, a ruler, va'afat stalim et Medaya Azot, he was even photographed with it. Ve'en sofek she'istamech al divrei aposkim anal. V'chein ikar l'alocha l'maisa. So he now based on this approach, common practice is to permit the use of objects that have a cross on them. Likewise, Rav Moshe Feinstein permitted collecting stamps with a picture of a cross on them.
I like to see
And what about
pictures.
knighthood? What about knighthood?
Say again.
What about knighthood? When they take the sword and they go over your shoulders,
I'm not
are
gonna
you
worry
allowed to?
What is that? What is the
Gerard
shot?
is gonna be knighted.
What's the
You doing the
voter
cross.
If they do it in a church, it's a problem.
No, like Sachs.
It's
Where
already
did he
public.
get knighted?
Was he a knighted?
Did he get knighted?
Yes.
Yeah, but you
Where
could
did
you could
he
be
bow
given a
down?
title.
Cross. You're actually doing the cross.
Maybe they just give them a title.
They did the Mogan David on him.
I don't think
Zorro.
I'm not sure there's a Avodah Zarah aspect to that. It's just an honorific. Okay.
By the way,
What-
in Vacheron Constantine, the watches, every Vacheron has a cross on it.
Okay. What we see today, we've learned that they permit the use of objects that have a cross on them because they're not worshipped. Now we understand why you can use it. Okay. Now,
You know the story of the Jewish man was going to be knighted by the queen, and he got up there and he just sat down. He completely forgot what to say, so he started mumbling in Hebrew. The queen looked and said to him, "Why is this night different from all other nights?"
now we all read going to school about Greek mythology, or somebody wants to read the history of Christianity, and generally one must distance oneself from idolatrous places and objects, and it's also generally forbidden to own and read idolatrous books. The Medrash, the Sifrei Bamidbar, derives this from the Torah's injunction not to stray after your heart, which is understood to be referring to heresy. The Rabbah mentions this prohibition in Hilchos Avodah Zarah. Sforim Rabim Chibru Ovdei Kechavim B'Avodah Zarah. So the Ovdei Avodah Zarah have written many books. Heich Ikar Avodah Zarah, how you worship it. Uma Maseh Mishpateh, what are the stories? What are its laws? Sivana Kodesh Baruch Hu Shol Likros Ba'osam. We're not supposed to read it. Asforim Klal. V'lo Naharabo, shouldn't think about it. V'lo B'Davar Midvar, or any part of it. Now, what about Gedolei Yisrael? Can they know about it in order to be able to rule? Well, we'll get to the mythology in a minute. Well, that's like the New Testament or other books by Tertullian and St. Augustine and the Church Fathers. And, could Gedolei Yisrael read such Sforim in order to rule on matters of halacha? So Igros Moshe, Rav Moshe talked about it. Akol panim hadin emes de lahavin lahoris leke iser. So if you need to investigate it because you have to paskin and do halacha, there's no prohibition. Al mitzad heter zeh ein lahatir el legdoilei hador b'toira uv'yirah shamayim v'lo l'stam bnei adam. He basically says regular people shouldn't read it. Aval likrom isform shemevinim misham shehem divrei akol hevel ushtus shekoslim misham sheshtus zeh asu ukedomim chen lilmod course ba'oifen zeh ein b'zeh shum iser. Now, he says like this: if you're taking a class, and in the books it's very clear that it's all nonsense and foolishness, then there's no prohibition. So Zeus and all of this, where it's it's almost inherent when you read it that it's not really Lamaisa. Right. So l'chora, I think that's what he might be referring to. That if it's read in a way that it's not real, and that we know now today that it's all been debunked, l'chora, there's no isser. And what should a history teacher do when studies of idolatry are included in the syllabus? And that I think they're talking about Greek and Roman material. We're talking about an Orthodox Jew whose parnasa was to teach in public school. Right, Greeks and Romans. The Greek mythology. Im yesh b'ze iser, the al tifnu el ha'elilim. V'im kain. Kishetzarech l'lamed b'ha'kurs shelo. The course means his class. Inyane datehem v'hevlehem. Tzarech l'daber b'loshen she'avinu shehem inyane shtus. He has to teach it in a way that it's like nonsense. V'hevel. Eich shedover hevel zeh asu, v'dover hevel zeh. You know, they did this ridiculous thing and this ridiculous thing. Asher afilu tzas ben das yimois b'zeh. Anyone with any basic intelligence is going to know that it wasn't true. Shomer Rav Nachman b'Megillah Daf Chavchei Kol Latzinusa Asira Bar Latzinusa de Akum Deshay. That means joking and being sarcastic is usher. It's a bad thing to do. But when it relates to Avodah Zarah, you're mutter to do it.
How do we have the names of the months? All the gods from
All the gods, right.
Well, again, we're not reading. We're not reading it.
Babylonian gods, Thomas, whatever.
Yeah.
I would say that it relates to like when the Rambam said that because of our golus that we end up in a city that has churches, so we live in a society that there's only so much we can do.
This we took on as a
Yeah, I mean, we could change it now. Nobody is going to be upset at us that we got rid of Tishrei or.
So you're not going to say Saturday for Saturday?
Yeah, but what are we going to do? That means the world at large uses these words. So the same thing. We live in a city that has these things. That's you know. We, by the way, we do use, for example, on a matzeva, there are people who are makpid not to put the secular dates. They put Cheshvan, Zion. They don't put.
In Israel,
No,
did they
I'm
use
thinking
Hebrew
Cheshvan.
months?
I would say Chodesh Hashvi'i.
In Israel.
Depends if they're English.
Oh, you're saying even Tishrei and Cheshvan were words of. Yeah, but Chazal accepted that. You're saying why?
If they accepted that, then that would be why.
Yeah, but that's different than studying. But that's different than studying these books.
but you took the name of the
Idols
So,
and you
okay, there.
memorialize them.
That's a good
Mine.
kasha.
Jewish culture.
I'm sure there's plenty written on it. I don't have it here right now.
Someone
but
wrote a
it's
book
something
on
to
the
investigate.
Jewish months. Someone we know. Maybe he would.
Now, you can't have a noah from any idolatrous object. Shulchan Aruch. Kishem shavoris kechov masurim banoah, kach kol hanoos habos bimen asuros. You can't have any benefit from it. Afilu im sarfa us. That means if you burn it and you want to get heat from the, you can't benefit heat. Lahanos b'kachos ve'fara. Now, if you're going to turn it into coal, you can't. Aval muter lehanos mishal havesya. But while it's burning, you're allowed to benefit from it. I guess because it's being destroyed at that point.
Because fire just
And it's also being destroyed. And it's no mamashos to it. What about the smell or sound of Avodah Zarah? So the Gemara in Pesachim derives a parallel law regarding sanctified objects. And the Gemara in Shabbos also derives a prohibition at looking at an idolatrous image from a different verse. It says in Pesachim Amar Rava, Meno Amina law. How do we know that this is so Tanya? Amar Shimon ben Pazi, Amar Shimon ben Levi, Mishum bar Kapara. Kol, that's sound, mare, sight, the reich, smell, ein behem mishum me'ila. We're talking about you have a kodshim animal and you smell it. Now normally you cannot benefit from kodshim. Otherwise you're over me'ila. You have to pay back based on English what you benefit. There's a 20% fine. You have to bring a korban osham. So what about if you smell it or see it or hear it? There's no me'ila. Because there's no me'ila hu deleka, but ha isura eka. So you don't violate me'ila, but you're not allowed to do it. So from that, we also learn by Avodah Zarah as well, that you can't benefit from kol mar and reya.
Smell the karbonos. I mean, they're the burning animals. People couldn't.
They said it was Reich Nechoyach.
Yeah, that's for Hashem. But you can't, that means we're going to see, if you have no kavanah to benefit from it, you're walking by and you have no choice, we're going to see if you're not machavim to have a noah, you're not a noah.
By doing incense, you can't not smell the
Kavanah
incense.
not to be.
You have to have kavanah not to benefit from it. You smell it memela, that's not a problem. Let's finish. Ton Rabban.
Jewish bakery.
Kosav Mahalech.
Try not to.
Let's say you're walking on Mahalech Tachas Atsura under a statue. or v'tachas adyuknius, under an image. Also likrosa b'Shabbos.
Yeah.
So you can't read it because there's writing under a picture, and you can't read it.
That means you can't go to an art.
No,
to
you
see
can't
an
read it
art
because
exhibit.
you might come to read business documents. Now, but what about the diukna atzma? What about looking at the image itself? Af b'chol osur listakel bo. Forget about the reading. Forget about reading what's underneath it. You can't look at it because you're benefiting from it.
Then you can't go to certain museums either.
You can't go to any museum.
Mishum shenemer al tifnu el ha'elili.
No, except for modern art.
So my Talmud, the Amr of Chanin, al tifnu el midatchem. It means don't take your mind. Well, if you go to the Impressionist Museum, the Modern Art Impressionist Museum, there's not a lot of Avodah Zarah there. If you go to the Louvre, the old museums will have a lot of it. So you don't look at that picture.
You can't look at any museum in Italy then.
In Europe.
Come on.
Now, in Masechta Brachas it says, Torah Rabbanan, Hayim Mahalach B'Shuk Shel Avodah Zarah, Nisratze L'Ariach Harei Zachote. So Larry, that deals.
And these guys never saw these paintings.
So Larry, that deals with what you said, that you have to have kavanah to want to be sinning by smelling it. But if you're just walking through the butcher market and you can't help but smell it, you're not going for it. Says the Shulchan Aruch, also lishmo kli shir shel avodas kechavim. You can't listen to the music of a church. Only stakel b'noi avodas kechavim, or to look at the beautiful pictures of the avodah zarah.
You can't go to Hollywood.
Kivan shenana beriyu miu davar shem iskavin mutter. But if you just happen to walk by and you not have kavana, it's permitted.
That's what it is, a service, or that would be like a piece
No
of
service.
music?
No, the service. Like a
You're allowed
service.
to listen to Hannah Society.
Hang on,
Gospel
that would be a
music,
problem
yeah.
because that was written for Avodah Zarah. Now,
gospel
if you hear it let's see, we're going to deal with that. First, the Shach says, "Asul lishma v'chen lariach berech shel alilim u'chbuch berech kol shah." Can you sit in the shade of a building of a church? Says the Chochmas Adam, who's the same as the Chayei Adam. The Chayei Adam. If you're, I would say 30, 40 years ago,
Yeah, that's what we learned in school.
prior to the becoming the Mishnah Brura was really pushed. So people learn the people learn Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, and people learn the Chayei Adam. Now the Chayei Adam's work on Isser V'Heter is called the Chochmas Adam. So there is a Chayei Adam, a short version by, for example, Yoredeya, of the laws of Kashrut, etc. The Chochmas Adam is the same author, Rav Danziger, and so he lives about the time of the Gra, about 1800. So Chochmas Adam kivan the base of Avodah Zarah aser bana and can aser lichnos l'socha. So of course you can't go inside. Va'afilu leishev b'tzila. Aval to sit it there. Aval avar b'tzila mutter, to walk by you can. But mitzvah l'srachek shlo yilech neged hapesach tzachar b'ames. Don't go within 4 amas of the door. Also lishmoa klishir l'reich harech l'stakel b'noya. Don't listen to the smell or to this. Look at the beautiful things. V'kol shekin b'avodah zarah atzma. V'tzarch leilech derech sham. Yatim azno. He should put his fingers in his ears. V'yatzim einav. Or close his eyes. V'yistam nechirav. And close his nose. Yishmor sasmo shlo yenev. Afagav de'enu miskavin. Kivan davi psik reisha. Miskavin aser. But we know you can't cut the head of a chicken off and not bleed and not cause growth of the plant. Right? There's something where you. Vafilu ein lo derech acher. Well, we don't have that. We don't have that much of Avodah Zarah around us anymore. Not in Los Angeles. There's not many churches where we live.
My cousin's
But when you
walking-
travel, there's issues. But
Walking down the block in Manhattan on
St. Patrick's Cathedral.
There's a church a few blocks away. It has an awning. They walk out into the street to walk
To avoid
around
it, to follow this halacha.
Yeah. And
Okay, listen, just gives you an opportunity to do more
you cross
mitzvahs.
nefesh in order to
As long as you don't get hit by a car.
So what about listening to music?
I walk across the street.
What about listening to music? It is forbidden to stand outside a church and listen to music being played while inside going on during the service. But there's a dispute whether it is permitted to use such tunes. What about during davening? There are a lot of our tunes. Okay, so the Sefer Chasidim says, "Lo yilmad adam legalech oisiyah." So first of all, you shouldn't teach a priest the aleph beis. V'lo yinagin lefonav zemer noim. The galach. Don't sing a nice song to him because they'll use it for their service. Pen yinagin agalach b'avodah zarah shelo also nigun. The kol shemenagdim difnei avodah zarah lo yaseh also nigun lakodesh baruch
If you go down,
Any tune used in the service of idolatry may not be used for Hashem.
if you go downtown, and you go to almost any of the stores, I don't know if they still do it now, but you know, Sang Hashem Alech Hashem Alach. they're all it's all in Spanish. They're all every story had a song.
You know why?
in
Because it's a
Spanish.
Spanish song first.
Is that where it started?
And then they took it from there.
I don't know. Is it? I don't know.
Probably. Yeah,
Is
I'm
it?
sure it's, yeah.
Probably the other way around.
So
It's not. It's
the Ramon or Chaim, the Ramon or Chaim says Shliach Tzibur,
I just heard that last.
Hamenavel Piv, or Shemar. I'm in the Ramah, number 30. Shliach Tzibur Hamenavel Piv or Shemaranam B'Shira and Ochrim. A Chazan who defiles his mouth by in kedusha using a melody of the church. So that's not Simon and Garfunkel. Are you going to smart? So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about avodah zarah. So memachin biyadu shulasos can we prevent him from doing it? Ve'eno shomea mavir no so. And the Mishnah Berurah says b'shir anochrim ritzon lomer benigun shanach menagnim bo lavodas kilulim. The Mishnah Berurah says very careful. We're talking about music that the goyim used in their worship. Ubach b'tshuva simin kosav dafka benigun shemiyuchad lazeh. The Bach is basically though allowing then if you hear a nice tune that has nothing to do with. Well, Bach, a lot of his music was done for avodah zarah.
Which Bach? This Bach or that Bach?
Right, the Mizamim Vasek Nesius Benigun Shemizamim Beves Tfilosom Nira Shein Oser Ladafka Boys Negunim Shem Yichodim La'akum Machar Shul Chok Lavon Azar Kama Matseva Shasura Chomakum Neshasar Knani Chok Lavon Azar. But Rav Avadia Yosef is more lenient. He says V'chol Shekain Manigina Ba'alma Shein Ba'mamash. He says it's a tune. It's permitted. There's no substance. Right, he brings the Gemara that we quoted. Hainu ba'oso kol iser atzmo. That was the specific iser dika sound from the church. Aval bavar samangina bilvad divrei kedusha. But if someone's taking a Bach tune and giving it to kedusha, panim chadoshus b'olakan. So he uses panim chadoshus concept. Vein shum iser b'dover.
Handel tune, let's say. Hallelujah.
So there's a machlokas. So we brought the Shach. And the Ramah says no, but Ovadia Yosef says yes. He says that you can elevate it, that it's considered panim chadoshos. Veinshum isra b'davar k'shasatz oisazom mitoch kavana ta'ira. If the chazan is doing it because he really wants to raise the level of the tefillah, l'shevach l'zam Hashem yizbarach habocher b'shirei zimra. What is Igros Moshe? No, he adopts a more stringent opinion and extends the prohibition even to a tune that is no longer used within an avodah zarah context. For example, church music from many years ago. So this, I think, refers to what Walter was saying. Bach was originally written for the German choirs, a lot of that chorale music, etc. Now, over the last 200 years, Bach music is played in symphony halls. So it became general music. So it could have been thought that it's not longer played for avodah zarah. But this is what I think Rav Moshe is dealing with. He says, a tune that is no longer used within avodah zarah context, but if it was church music from many years ago, it's going to be usher. Because let's see him say it. Hinei, hanigunim shemizamim hanotzim beves tiflosam, vade usher l'shomim. Can't listen to it. Af al yedei ha-radio, v'af al yedei phonograph. V'lo rak hanigunim shemizamim atah. Not just the current bestsellers in the church. El afilu mashayu mizamim mikvar. Now, Handel's Messiah is played even today in Kratzbach.
Before Christmas.
What I'm saying. So that you see, there are Bach things that are played only. Now, Bach didn't just write music for the church. Bach wrote symphonies and stuff that had nothing to do with the church. So not all of Bach music is.
Listen to any music for the whole month of December on certain radio stations.
So im Kain Chazina du Isser Gadol Chef Sheyav Chas V'Zor Let's
Bring Berlin. White Christmas. White Christmas.
We're gonna stop here. I would encourage page 41. There's more detail on entering a church and the status of Christianity in modern times. It's worth going into over Pesach. Next week we are having a week off. Everyone should have a Chag Kosher V'Samech wherever they are, at home or not. We will pick up. We'll do this last little piece about praising an idol worshiper. So, for example, Isaac Newton or any great goy that we praise. Are you allowed to do something like that? We'll see whether there's opinions, yes or no, and then we'll do we'll start
The church
Hilchas
almost
Avodah
crucified
Zarah
us for that.
Bays, which involves using the secular calendar, receiving charity from Gentiles, drawings of the sun, moon, and constellations, photographs of people, and children's dolls and toys. So,
All these Christian and from the big
Ernie?
supporters of Israel.
Chag Kosher V'Sameach.